Great opportunity to talk surf forecast with lead forecaster from Surfline. Our good friend Kevin Wallace joins us in the practice session. Kevin, thanks for calling.
Yeah, no problem. Good to be here, boys. Nice to see some fun waves, too.
Yeah, really fun. I wish we were out there, to be honest. But hey, we'll get our chance, Kevin. Anyways, you did say it was going to be a little bit lully today in this performance size. As far as your forecasting goes and as you're taking notes, everything looking like it's going to plan of what you thought the waves would be like today?
Yeah, it's just this small swell, obviously. The interesting thing about Cloudbreak to me is it doesn't take much swell to actually have decent size. You look at this swell, it's like a 2-foot deep water swell, but it's longer period, 16 seconds. So it's on the wave face, it's double, almost triple the size of the swell, which is that always fascinates me to see something like that at Cloudbreak. And it's one where you really look for some of these swells, some of these storms that are like way over in the Indian Ocean or the Southern Ocean, because it doesn't take much for Cloudbreak really to get pretty good on some of these smaller but long period swells.
Really fun day right now to warm up. We're watching Jordy Smith get his first wave of his practice session today. Getting down the line, he'll step off. So good to see Jordy as a #2 seed, and already loving our chant with Kevin Wallace. Kevin, hey, you always send us these amazing maps from Surfline. Let's roll the tape, and why don't you walk us through the official forecast for this event?
All right.
Well, let's stand by. We got a little throw tail we want to watch from Jack. And he'll track back into the pocket. Nice performance on his warm-up wave here. He's got a mix of boards to choose from. Arakawa he won on in Tahiti and brought a bunch of brand new sharp eyes. Matty Bemrose brought some extras over. And looks like no waves being ridden. Let's go ahead and roll the tape. Surfline Forecast. Kevin, walk us through it.
There we go. Okay. So the thing we're going to be watching over the next couple of days is just all the activity in the Tasman Sea and then this low that was over the Indian Ocean, basically right now and over the next couple of days. But the majority of our surf is going to come from these Tasman Sea flows. That's going to set up surf next week, starting Sunday afternoon, but really filling in kind of the beginning through middle part of next week. So today just fun. We got trades this morning, coming up a little bit this afternoon. Head high-ish or so. That gets smaller as we move through the weekend. Actually, pretty much as small as it's going to get at Cloudbreak ever by the end of Saturday afternoon into Sunday. And then things pick up again. Picking up Sunday afternoon, that new pulse salt comes up, fills in further on Monday, and then looks like Tuesday is likely going to be the largest surf of the event window. That'll be from one of those Tasman Sea storms, kind of a mid-period swell, 12 to 13 second energy, probably be around a 6 to 8 foot swell. So you're looking at overhead to up to about double overhead surf at Cloudbreak. Looks a little bit smaller than it did a few days ago. The beginning of this week, it looked like it would be pumping, kind of not too big for Cloudbreak, but like one of those washy swells where it's not really breaking on the first ledge. It's kind of breaking on the outer ledge, but kind of washing through. And competitors probably get a tour of the tower a couple of times. So that's a big reason we're looking at restaurants too. Number one, the shorter swell period. Restaurants loves that shorter swell period. The direction and then the wind as well looks like it could be favorable for restaurants. We could see a puff of onshores come up through the day on Tuesday out of Cloudbreak, but restaurants have to probably be light variable and potentially glassy conditions. So no bad. I don't think there's any bad choices here, but right now I'd say this is probably a better swell for restaurants than it is for Cloudbreak.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Yeah, that has been the huge talk around the islands of going, hang on, restaurants might be in the mix, and also finding out that things potentially could be shifting in those last couple of days of the waiting period. What are you seeing comparing September 2nd to the last day of the waiting period, September 4th?
Yeah, the second right now still looks like a bigger day than the 4th. The thing that I like about the 4th, and this is specifically would be for Cloudbreak, would be the swell period is a little bit longer. We'd have a mixture of swells. We'd have another Tasman storm that would be kind of 13 to 14 seconds. But we'd have something similar to what we have today too, maybe a little bit bigger, where we've got some small but long period energy that would be filling in, and then the potential for trades to kick in kind of all day on Thursday as well, where like Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll probably end up seeing a period of onshore winds, around the middle of the day. Where Thursday, we at least have the potential for all-day trades and more clean and groomed conditions. So a little bit smaller, but potentially a little bit better on Thursday when we're just looking specifically at Cloudbreak. If it's going to be a restaurants day, I think Tuesday is still the day for restaurants.
And touching on the wind pattern again, Kevin, for us, from really focusing on September 1st through the 4th, what are you seeing there? Are those going to be consistent trades?
Not consistent trades. It'll be one where the wind's probably going to be all over the place. Monday the 1st looks like it will be trades, particularly at Cloudbreak. The interesting thing too is even though Cloudbreak and restaurants are not very far apart, mile and a half apart, something like that, they can have very different winds. It can be like honking trades out of Cloudbreak and basically light variable at restaurants, and they can be all over the place. So a really complex wind pattern or wind regime that can set up for both spots. So looks like probably trades on Monday for Cloudbreak, and then Monday and Tuesday, or excuse me, Tuesday and Wednesday, almost like a light variable pattern where you get that offshore land breeze in the morning out of the east, really nice conditions in the morning, and then roughly midday, you get a little bit of an onshore wind before trades may kick back in at the end of the day again. And then that's actually great. That can actually be great for restaurants. That midday where wind just goes slack, and actually good for all the breaks kind of around Tabarua and Namotu, where things just clean up and you potentially get classic conditions.
Kevin, just wanted to touch on the tides, something we haven't spoken about yet. How are they lining up for early next week? Are the coefficients big in terms of high-low? And what sort of tides, if any, are favourable for Cloudbreak and then restaurants?
Yeah, I think we don't. I don't know the specific tide times, Rich, but the extremities of the tide, so to speak, aren't that bad. We're not at new or full moon, which is when we see our most extreme tides. So there wouldn't be a ton of water moving around. Cloudbreak can be kind of good on any tide. It tends to be best on low to medium, but it's dependent on the swell and wind and everything like that. It can be good at all times. Restaurants, to a degree, is like that too. It just gets super sketchy when the tide's really low. Obviously, it's really, really shallow, and you get coral heads sticking up and just dry reef out there. So these guys and gals can handle that low tide, but I don't want any part of it when it's low tide.
Yeah, restaurants gets very sketchy on low. Actually, Richie was talking about that earlier, actually seeing the coral heads popping out of the water on the takeoff on the slab. That's really exciting news, Kevin, having two world-class waves, which could be called up for the world title race. We were talking about the bathymetry earlier, and we stick to that topics a lot when we go to Teahupo and Tahiti because it's such a severe slab. For Cloudbreak, it's such a big playing field, but how does the bathymetry really take in the swell, and what are the periods that it really likes to be at its best?
Yeah, Cloudbreak shares some similarities with Chokes in that, if you go, I think about 2 miles offshore from what we're seeing now, it does drop off significantly. It's a couple thousand feet deep, just a little ways offshore. So you get that, like a similar type of power that you would see like on the North Shore, like you'd see in Tahiti, where most of that open ocean energy just remains intact. And then as the swell moves into the nearshore environment, this reef, Cloudbreak is basically like an underwater point, right? This kind of long, perfectly tapered reef where, Tahiti Chokes, it's kind of this little bend and little notch in the reef that even makes it rideable. Very short, very intense wave, only a couple to a few second rides, where Cloudbreak has this much longer, point style wave that is able to, just suck in any energy at all, and particularly long period. It will just suck in and magnify even relatively small swells and create big surf. So it's just like it's a freak of nature. It's one of the most incredible waves in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty cool too. It's kind of feels like a relative of Tahiti in some ways, like a distant cousin. When you think about it as well, I guess with a southerly angle at Cloudbreak, it kind of has that almost point break effect. And when you add that more west, it gets more nuclear and the wave gets thicker. And that's an interesting comparable as well, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes when it's really west, you'll get those sets that'll swing wide, and just go crazy down through the shish kebab section of the reef, and maybe miss the ledge section. But it's such an interesting playing field. It's somewhat akin to like Sunset Beach in Hawaii, where it's this massive reef and got all these different personalities on different swell periods in different directions, and it's a perfect wave in its imperfectness. A lot of times, I think, where restaurants is like this machine and it breaks in the same spot every time, and you could set your watch to it. Cloudbreak offers some different challenges. It's still a perfect wave, but it does some funky things that can throw you off here and there too.
Well, Kevin, before I let you go, I always love talking about historical data, and for you personally, as loving your job for a very long time, any significant swells in your time forecasting that Cloudbreak that stand out as some of the most memorable that you've forecasted over the years?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one was the 2012 Welcome swell. I don't know how anyone can forget that. I think, I still say that wave that Healy got caught inside of, and you see his board drifting up. Like, to me, I think that's still the single most impressive wave I've ever seen. So that was, yeah, that one is at the top. But I was fortunate enough to be on Tabarua for a number of the events, kind of through the 2010s, and being able to see many of them, and being able to surf and talk to guys like John Roseman and Dave Clark and all the boatmen, and just pick up little bits of knowledge. It's been invaluable, and really grateful I had the opportunity to do it.
Awesome. Always love our chats, Kevin. Thanks for calling in. Hey, we're going to bug you tomorrow if you don't mind. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we'll chat soon.
All right. Cheers, boys. See ya.